Hello, is this Commissioner Russell? Hello? You sounded like you were in a well. I'm sorry. Can you hear us okay? This is Mayor Anderson. Mayor Anderson, can you hear me okay? Can everyone hear Commissioner Russell? It's a little blurry. That was better. Thank you. Okay, Commissioner Russell, if you will just hang on for a few moments. We haven't started the meeting yet, and once we start, I will ask for a motion to approve your absence, and then you can join into the conversation. Does that make sense? Okay. I guess I will ask for a motion. I'll say that one is necessary.
Who's this guy? Oh, he's planning commission. Okay.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. At this time, I would like to call to order the regular City Commission meeting of the City of Lynn Haven, July the 11th, 5 p.m., and the meeting is now called to order. At this time, our good friend, Mr. Leon Miller, is going to lead us in an invocation. If you could please stand.
Thank you. Our Father, our God, again, we come on a special day, O Heavenly Father, to ask your leadership, O Heavenly Father. O Heavenly Father, the decisions that we make today will satisfy the community and satisfy the commission, O Heavenly Father. O Heavenly Father, we ask you to bind us together that we may make this city a better place. Also, O Heavenly Father, we ask you to look up under the county and this United States with the problems that we are having. With your leadership, O Heavenly Father, we know we will get to the top someday. Thank you, O Heavenly Father, for this day. In our Christ's name, amen.
Amen. Would you please stand in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Before I begin with the mayor's report, I would we have Commissioner Dan Russell, who is joining us by phone for this meeting. And before we can continue, I would need someone on the commission to make a motion and then it to be seconded for him to be approved to be part of the meeting in absence.
So moved. Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Is there any discussion from the board? Okay, Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so the motion has passed, and Commissioner Russell will be participating with us by phone. Could you hear that okay, Commissioner Russell? Okay, perfect. Okay, moving on to item number 3, which is the mayor's report. I would like to start by congratulating the Leisure Services Department for the wonderful 4th of July activities and parade and all the music, the fireworks, everything that went along to make Lynn Haven the place to be on the 4th of July. I would also like to thank Chief Matt Reamer and the police department for all the extra hours that they put in to keep everybody safe. To John DeLonge, the fire chief, and his department for all that they did to work and make this a great holiday. And finally, to any of the first responders who were there. And it was a wonderful, wonderful day. Also, I'd like to thank Leisure Services and congratulate them on the installation of the ADA accessible mat. If you haven't seen that or didn't see it on the news, our Porter Park Beach now has a mat that allows those in wheelchairs or others disabled, and even mothers with strollers who wanted to take a small child down to the beach to get there easily. And it's very timely because we're moving up on the 27th anniversary of the Americans with Disability Act, and we'll have a representative here at the next commission meeting to receive a proclamation for that. So Lynn Haven has done something I think wonderful in moving forward. Some of our playground equipment now is also ADA accessible for small children, so we're getting there. Also, I attended my first TPO meeting. Commissioner Friend has been a member of the TPO for a couple of years, and it is a great organization dedicated to improving transportation in our area. And I'll be also attending an orientation on July 26th before our next board meeting to learn more about how I can better serve on that board and how I can help to improve transportation in our area. And I also, you have in your hands an update. If you remember at the last commission meeting, I told you about visiting the FDOT, or Florida Department of Transportation, Secretary Philip Gaynor in Chipley, and City Manager Schubert went with me, as well as Chris Forehand, our city engineer, and we had asked for some information about Highway 3, State Road now 390, and how the paving process and the widening process was coming along. And if you're like me, every time I go to one of those meetings, I was getting a different story of where everything is. So this is in writing for us how everything is at this point. So as you read through that, hopefully it will help clarify. We were rather surprised by some of the dates and how long that the process is going to take. But anyway, that's the update that we have at this time. They're also continuing to work toward the permitting process for a traffic signal, a study, a possibility of a traffic signal at the foot of Bailey Bridge as it comes into Lynn Haven, to make that a safer intersection there by Po Folks and Porter Park, Ace Hardware there. So it may take up to 18 months to 2 years to get that done, but the process has begun. Also, they approved working with us on crossings for golf carts on the state roads, and the city engineer is working toward that. The county has also approved golf cart crossing locations for us on the county roads, 12th Street and 14th Street, so we have access to cross those roads. So all of that's in process, the permitting and everything, and so we'll keep you updated on that. But just want to let you know that it's moving on. And then finally, I wanted to share with you feedback on the stop sign issue that I brought up at the last meeting. I've had an overwhelming number of phone calls from residents, and while if you'll recall, I had asked for specific places in the city where residents have told me they need stop signs, and the board decided that we would delay installing those and have a workshop to discuss how we could change our city ordinance to look more like other municipalities as far as the process for installing stop signs. As Commissioner Barnes pointed out, I'm sometimes impatient with studies and government wheels, how slowly they turn, and felt that residents who've been complaining for many years that needed a stop sign should just be able to have one because we have the power to do that. So what happened is we decided that we would, as a board, postpone installing all those stop signs that I had asked for and have a workshop in the future. So in bringing this up, I wanted to read you this one email that I received from a resident on Tennessee Avenue, Rex Ogburn. Thank you so much for installing a four-way stop at 12th Street in Tennessee. And as I read that sentence, Commissioner Friend, I thank you that you made the recommendation for the stop sign, but on the other hand, the stop sign that was installed is on the mayor's street. So we didn't get all the others. So I've had an overwhelming number of phone calls saying, thank you very much for not putting in my stop sign and putting one on your street. So that's where I'm at right now, yeah. So but I want to read this to you. Thank you so much for installing a four-way stop at 12th Street in Tennessee. This has become a heavily used bypass for those wanting to avoid the busy 390 Ohio intersection. The new stop sign may allow that to continue, but the main effect will be to eliminate those 45 to 55 mile per hour speeders who run unabated through our neighborhood. On our block alone, there are 4 residents over age 80, and because of the speeders, my front yard had to be declared off limits to my great-grandson, a 2-year-old toddler. Again, thanks to everyone who made this possible. Rex Ogburn, 1207 Tennessee, formerly referred to as the Lynn Haven Motor Speedway. So that was his take. And then I also had a phone call from Bob Ross, who I spoke with over almost 2 years ago now. Alan, you're here, so I don't want to take away, but they had requested a stop sign at 13th at Georgia, and then I also had a call from, and Mr. Ross was very polite in his phone call, although he did say, why did you get yours and I didn't get mine, sort of, but he was very polite. And it was because I didn't want to refuse the one that I got, so we'll get the others, hopefully. But I also had a phone call, unidentified, from Colorado, which I can't share with you because the language was more colorful. And then I had another one from a resident on 5th Street, and the language was a little stronger there as well. So I'm just sharing all this with the commission to ask you if we could possibly, if you guys could come up with a time that you would be willing to schedule this workshop to talk more about stop signs, because my phone is about to blow up. And I would like to suggest maybe having a workshop before the next commission meeting. But anyway, that's the end of my report, but I'm hoping one of you might pick that up with a motion to set that date. No takers?
Well, oh, yes, I definitely want a workshop.
Yeah.
Is that what we're talking about?
Would anyone be willing to come up with a time? And
Our next commission meeting,
our next commission meeting would be July the 25th at 6 p.m.
yeah, I would certainly like to have it as soon as possible. Unfortunately, and I was going to share my report, but I'll be traveling next week for the TPO, but I believe I would be available on the 24th. So I don't know if everyone wants to discuss that before we make a motion, but I'd certainly make a motion that we have a workshop to discuss the traffic.
Could it be the same day as the commission meeting, just earlier maybe?
Sure.
Would that be
Either
more
whatever
convenient?
works for everyone, but if we need a motion to discuss it, or if we just want to discuss it, whatever you want to do, but I can certainly make a motion that we have a workshop, a single issue workshop to discuss the traffic calming policy that we currently have, to go over all the different elements of the traffic calming, to include stop signs on the 25th of July prior to the commission meeting. That's my motion.
I'll second that.
There's been a motion and a second, and I thank you very much.
Yes, ma'am.
Is there any discussion from the board?
I wanted to say this. Would it be at all possible to combine the stop sign issue, and could we have a part of the workshop go towards the resolution that I tried to bring up last time, as far as the city accepting gifts?
Okay, clarifying, would you be willing to amend your motion to make it two topics in that workshop?
You sure?
Okay.
Wait a second, not sure I understand this. You want to bring that topic back up again?
Well, I brought it up before, but we didn't even discuss it, so it hasn't been discussed. All I'm asking for is that the commission at least vote on large sums of money and things of that nature that are given to the city by private industry.
Well, it's my understanding if the motion died, you're either bringing it back up again, because no one seconded the motion.
Basically because nobody wanted to even discuss it or whatever. I think it needs to be discussed, even if we choose not to accept it.
Well, I think the action of the commission was not to have a second, so
Everybody's in favor of the way things are now.
I'm sorry?
So are you saying that everybody's in favor of the way things are now?
I think by the actions of the commission last time, that's kind of the way it was.
Okay.
I mean, the mayor tried to second your motion, and she couldn't second it, so, I mean, I don't know what else to do unless you want to bring it back up again.
Well, I work very hard at respecting the sunshine law, and so I don't discuss anything with the mayor or any other commission member. So as a new commissioner, I have to ask this: if we don't have workshops out in the public to discuss these issues, they just never get discussed. If you pay attention to the sunshine law.
Let me ask the attorney, we're having Okay, we've had a first and a second motion about discussing stop signs and about changing our ordinance about traffic calming. So in that same workshop, when we finished that, if one of the commissioners brought up a topic on anything that they just wanted to talk about, would anybody be opposed to being able to talk about it?
I think I would defer to the city attorney, but I believe if we advertise a
You have to-
workshop that it's going to discuss
A single issue.
a particular topic or a list of topics, then that's what we need to discuss. We can't deviate from that would be my,
Okay.
but I would defer to the attorney.
I mean, all the workshop is a public meeting, so, I mean, anything could be added to the agenda or discussed at the workshop. If it's not on the agenda, then it would need permission to be added to the agenda for discussion.
At the beginning of the
Yes.
workshop?
Yes, ma'am. Yes,
Okay.
ma'am, yeah.
So if we vote and approve to have the workshop on the 25th for the purpose of talking about adjusting or adding to or subtracting from our traffic ordinance and talking about stop signs, which we've already passed, and then when we finish with that, or before we even start that, if somebody wanted to add her topic, which is resolution, she has a resolution that she wanted to bring before the board and talk about donations of large sums of money to the city. She's had feedback from the public, and she wants to talk about it with the rest of the commission and is trying to respect the sunshine law. So I certainly wouldn't be opposed to allowing her to discuss that at the workshop after we finish the other topic. Does anybody else have a problem with that?
I amended the motion, so.
Thank you,
Yeah.
thank you. Commissioner Barnes, could you go along with that?
Yeah, I'll second it.
Thank you very much. Okay, shall we, Commissioner Russell, did you want to weigh in? Okay, perfect, okay. At this time, is there any further discussion from the board? I'm sorry. Okay, anything from the public? Are we good? Okay, Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll for for Commissioner Friend's motion?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell? Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so we will be having a public workshop on July the 25th for the purpose of talking about traffic calming with the placement of stop signs in Lynn Haven. And if you weren't here, some of that discussion was because Florida statute states the mayor and commission can place a stop sign anywhere they deem that it's needed for traffic control or public safety. That's kind of paraphrased, but that's what it says in a couple of sentences. And Commissioner Friend brought up that he thought maybe we could do a little research and see what some of the other municipalities were doing and try to amend our ordinance down from the lengthy ordinance that it now requires petition signing and traffic studies and all of that. So thank you, gentlemen, and Miss Commissioner Tender and Dan Russell for voting to go forward with that. So we invite you all, and I apologize for my lengthy mayor's report, and we move on to the commissioner's report. Commissioner Russell, we'll have a report from you, and since you're in a different time zone, I'm assuming you might be somewhere wonderful, but go ahead.
I have no questions on
No report.
I think he was going to defer it, yeah. Right.
Okay, thank you. No report from Commissioner Russell. Okay, safe travels. Commissioner Tender?
Yes. I was called back out to 514 Carolina again regarding the ditch situation. I went back and took a look at it. It appeared that the drain now meets the ditch in such a way that it should drain. I'll be going back after the next rain to see how that goes. The folks that live at that address are going to be very patient and wait until October, as their street is one of the first streets on the agenda to be paved and the pipes replaced and everything. I had a resident contact me about weeds and things growing at the ballpark, and as Ms. Tate reported, it's all the rain and everything, they just couldn't get to it, and they have since been taken care of. This resident also was talking, wanted to know why the water tank at the ball field has in such serious needs of paint. Mr. Baker from Public Works stated that it is on his schedule for next year to have that taken care of. I too went to the 4th of July parade. It was wonderful. I just thought everything about it was terrific the whole day. I received an email from a resident over on Rhode Island, and it's a beautiful neighborhood, beautiful homes, and this man sent me photographs with the water 2 feet from his front door. It was just unbelievable. Well, I went over there with my stick and poked around in the ditches. I couldn't even find a culvert at one end, or a pipe at one end, and the other pipe, the closest pipe to this man's ditch, was a block away. It was at the other end of the block. Well, thanks to Mr. Baker, I sent it to Joel, and he forwarded it on to Mr. Baker in Public Works, and the next day, they went out and dug this ditch, mowed all that grass. It was just unbelievable. The guy texted me back, and he said, I looked out my window, and there was like a whole crew of people out there working. Anyway, he was very, very thrilled that we got that taken care of. I had a resident wanted me to ask the commission about looking into a much-needed stop sign at 26th Street and 389. She reports the traffic in the morning makes it unbearable to get out, and I don't know if that's in our realm on 389 or not. And then I have to say this, I've been working on an issue since I started in April with code enforcement about a situation over on Pennsylvania Avenue, and it's been resolved, and I'm so thankful to Mr. Brown and everybody from code enforcement that has been working on it, and I don't want to get into any more of that detail, except we had somebody living there without electricity, and his neighbors are very thankful he's chose to move away. That's the end of my report.
Thank you so much. Commissioner Barnes?
Yes. Just want to say, I know this is Mr. Schubert's last meeting with us. Is that correct, Mr. Schubert?
Yes, sir.
It is. I just want to say how much that I appreciate the job that you've done for the past 3 years for the city. When you came in, you hit the ground running, and you have produced quite a bit for the city. And I just want to say thank you for a job well done. We're certainly going to miss you. And of course, you know, if you need anything from us, we're here if you need us. And then I have another item that we'll talk about later. That's my report.
Thank you. Commissioner Friend?
Thank you, Mayor. Yeah, I'd echo that. Mr. Schubert's been a valuable asset to the city. We're certainly going to miss him. The good news is he's not going very far, and it'll be great to have another friendly face down at the county. I think we have a great relationship with the county. The county's been very nice and very cooperative working with the city of Lynn Haven on certain issues, and so I think having Mr. Schubert down there will help tremendously. But also just wanted to report that, yes, I had the TPO meeting, first meeting with the mayor. Want to just say it was a great meeting. She had a lot of good things to add to the meeting, so certainly appreciate that. Not that it's a big deal, but I've actually been serving on the TPO from day one, so I'm in my 6th year, and I certainly enjoy it. And the timing is good for our traffic because I will be traveling on behalf of the TPO to the MPOAC meeting. I do report on this from time to time. I'm the TPO's representative for that. It's elected officials all across the state that get together and discuss several different things that relate to transportation, from legislation to just all kind of things. But then in conjunction with that this year, they're having transportation summer camp, they call it. So I'll be purposely seeking out some of these other type of policies for traffic calming and try to get educated on any of that I can. And just as a reminder, I do that on behalf of the TPO, so all of my expenses are covered by the TPO and not the city. But if anybody has any questions or comments or anything about that, please reach out to me. I'll be happy to go over any of that with you. Also, just want to take the opportunity to thank our local ledger for giving us the opportunity as commissioners to share our commissioner reports and anything else that we might do. I've been able to take advantage of that once, and I hope to do it again and again, so I certainly wanted to reach out to the ledger and say thank you very much for that opportunity. Another form of communication to the people that we serve, so thank you, sir. And that's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. City Manager's report?
Thank you, Mayor. I've got a few items before Chief Matt Reamer is going to recognize some of his employees. The first one is the Field Depot. I just wanted to give a brief update because it's been a while. We've got one of the development team here, but just 4 quick bullet points. While we were shooting for this commission meeting, again, after 15 years, we don't want to rush it, but we are trying to get to the finish line here. But so on the 25th for the commission meeting, we are scheduled to approve signed documents as far as a revised purchase agreement, and then the development agreement as well. The deal, according to the grantee, the developer, will be fully funded August 3rd. I received an email to that effect yesterday. That includes a $100,000 non-refundable deposit as of August 3rd to cover the city's soft costs, or at least some of them from the last few years. The closing should be somewhere, we're waiting to hear back from the DOD or the Air Force, between August 4th and 8th, and the closing ceremony is scheduled for August 23rd, which I will be asking all from the county to come attend that, because we need to make several toasts about that. 813 Pennsylvania is the property directly east of the commission room here that recently became vacant, unfortunately, due to a death in the family. It's in probate right now. We are watching that as far as if it's potentially in foreclosure right now. It could come out of foreclosure. We have the contact information for all the parties involved. The commission has expressed, as well as myself and staff have expressed a certain, very much interested in that property due to its proximity for potential parking or serving the city in other capacities, but parking more than anything. So we will continue to monitor that and keep the commission updated on that process as well. I wanted to mention the signage for golf carts, which is going to be considerable. Those were ordered as soon as the ordinance was approved. There are going to be many, many signs. You'll see them at the bottom of the stop signs where signage typically is, but it'll indicate whether it's a golf cart friendly road or not. Most of them are going to be golf cart friendly roads. So once those come in, you're going to see a lot of signage all over the city. Sheffield Park, you may have noticed the construction over there. This is, again, yet the next phase of that park right across the street here from the chambers, and you're seeing picnic benches, playground equipment, and the stage should be started soon as well, and that's going to be in the southeast corner. That'll be a great addition to that park as well. As far as other signage for the city in general, you may have noticed the City Hall sign. We hate to have to say we're across the street from a grocery store or whatever, but we needed signs. A sign I have been advocating for the last couple years to brand the city with our signage, to brand the city with our architecture, to brand the city with 2 or 3 colors. So when people see a city sign or a sign, they know it's a City of Lynn Haven building. So that's the prototype, that's the model, and you'll start seeing those signs go in front of all the city buildings here in the city, so our citizens know where our buildings are and they're readily recognizable, and I think it adds to the aesthetics as well. Also, there's the other sign that was out there, I think, ever since I've been here. That was another white whale on Baldwin in 77. It is, I think, about a third of the size of the sign that you see at the foot of the Bailey Bridge, and it just welcomes folks to the city of Lynn Haven. We don't think that property line, so to speak, of the city is going to move much, because that's where Panama City and Lynn Haven merged there. So there were many, many discussions over the last 3 years. The commission decided and staff decided that's the best place for it, and it's there. So I'm happy to see that. I've spoken with all the commissioners about the strategic plan. The new city manager is going to have to come in, hit the ground running, and what I'm leaving behind is not only a plan for fiscal year 17-18, but a 3-year blueprint roadmap from what we've done in the last 3 years to what I see, what I think our roadmap, and listening to the commission, should be in the next 3 years. So leaving a playbook for whoever that next city manager is. I've spent a lot of time with each commissioner on it. I think there's a lot of buy-in there, and that leads into the budget. I have sat down with our deputy finance director, and 90-something%, or at least the big parts, the big components of our budget are there. The fine-tuning is certainly going to come with your new city manager, and also with that vision meeting that typically takes place in the next month or two. But a lot of this work is there and done. I'm not saying it's finalized, but certainly a lot of the heavy lifting has been done. So I'm proud to leave that for you. The only other thing, and I believe this is going to require a commission vote, I've been working with Doc Smith, who owns, well, his family owns the tire place over on 17th Street. Everybody knows Doc Smith. He was a former commissioner. Unfortunately, he passed away about a year and a half ago, maybe 2 years now. But I've been working with his family to honor him and ceremoniously name the street after him. We can't, because of Google and some of the DOT regs and all that, but certainly we can't rename the street per se, but we can do a ceremonious renaming of the street and put maybe a signage below 17th Street, and we've got some suggested verbiage for it, and then also honor them, if I could get a commission approval, the next commission meeting again, which is July 25th, but it would be a ceremonious renaming of 17th Street. There would be a proclamation and a sign that we would the commission could hand the family, but if I could maybe, Mayor, if you could entertain a motion to address that.
The city manager has put forward a suggestion for a motion that 17th Street would be ceremoniously renamed for Doc Smith, a longtime business person and former commissioner of Lynn Haven. So is there any member of the commission who would entertain making that motion?
So move.
Second.
So we've had a motion and a second, and then one from far away too. So is there any discussion from the board? Okay, any discussion from the public? Okay, at this time, Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so that motion stands approved, and I think a very good one too. Thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. And the last thing I had was Police Chief Reamer had some recognition for his staff, and that will conclude.
Madam Mayor, Commissioners, I have 2 employees of whom I'm very proud of that have reached a milestone in their careers with the City of Lynn Haven. And I'd like to take this time to publicly recognize them. And if Ramona Bibbs would come up first. Ramona is our supervisor of our animal control facility, and she began her career here in January of 1997. And this last January, although it was a few months back, it was her 20-year anniversary. I'd like to present you with this plaque that says, for 20 years of service to the animals and the citizens of the City of Lynn Haven, your unselfish dedication and hard work have made the Lynn Haven Animal Control Program second to none. The continued level of service you provide is a testament of your loyalty to the care and custody of the animals you come in contact with. Well done. Thank you. He's done. You think he's done? And next, if I could get Sergeant Patrick Hamilton to come forward. Sergeant Hamilton is a supervisor with the police department. He started his career here in May of '97, so he's just reached his 20-year mark. Looks like he's getting a little old. Took you a while to get up there. Just congratulations to Patrick Hamilton for 20 years of service to the citizens of Lynn Haven and the Lynn Haven Police Department. Your dedication to the mission is a testament of your commitment to the oath of office that you took and the calling you answered when you put on your badge. Well done. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chief Reamer, and thank you so much for your service, and please know the admiration that this commission and this mayor holds for all that both of you do for the city, and 20 years is a very long time to be in blue, and thank you so much. At this time, I'd also like to offer my congratulations and my thank you to Joel Schubert, our city manager, and I'm sure that there will be a more festive occasion where everyone will tell you goodbye and thank you, and we wish you the best, which you certainly deserve as you move to the next position. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Mayor.
Moving now to the city attorney's report.
No report, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. The next item on the agenda is the consent agenda, which is item number 7, and that is the minutes of the last meeting, the regular meeting, and the special meeting, and I just need a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Move approval.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any opposition? And there is none. Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell? Yes. Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so the consent agenda is approved. And then we'll move to old business, which is item number 8. That is the second reading of ordinance 1036, and this is the firefighters' retirement system, and this will be an action item this evening. Mr. Schubert, do you have that resolution?
Yes.
Thank you.
An ordinance of the...
Excuse me, ordinance, I'm sorry.
An ordinance of the City of Lynn Haven amending Chapter 50, Personnel, Article 4, Firefighters Retirement System of the Code of Ordinances of the City of Lynn Haven, amending Section 50 through 124, Finances and Fund Management, amending Sections 50-149, Supplemental Benefit Component for Special Benefits, Chapter 175, Share Accounts, providing for severability of provisions, repealing all ordinances in conflict herewith, and providing an effective date.
Thank you. And just as a brief explanation to the public, these changes that are being made are just in compliance with, as my understanding goes, with the Internal Revenue Services Code that affects the city's ordinance, and they are driven by changes in the law and are considered housekeeping to make sure that our ordinances are in order.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. So at this time, is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any discussion or questions from the board?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor, if I could just use the opportunity, I just wanted to point out that during the interviews, I had a candidate that pointed out just how healthy, he looked over some of that and just how healthy this is. And I just wanted to say congratulations to everyone involved. It's something to be very, very, very proud of, not only as a commission, but the city of Lynn Haven and the people that are involved with that. So I just wanted to point that out.
Thank you. Anyone else, discussion or comments? Any questions or discussion from the public regarding this item? And there appears to be none, so Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll for approval?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell? Yes. Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and that stands approved. Commissioner Russell, are you still hearing us okay? Okay, I meant to check with you periodically to make sure you could hear us. New business, item number 9 is the discussion and possible action of the appointment of Brandon Aldridge to the Planning Commission Board. Mr. Schubert, do you have anything to add to that, or?
No, Mr. Aldridge had applied. There was a vacancy by Board Member Alan Richardson, and staff recommendation is approval of Mr. Aldridge.
Okay, is there a motion to approve Mr. Aldridge?
So move.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Any questions or discussion from the board? Any questions from the public? I'm sorry. Okay, Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell? Yes. Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, and so Brandon Aldridge is approved to be a member of the Planning Commission Board, and we congratulate him upon this appointment, and thank you for being willing to serve. Moving to item number 10, this is discussion and possible action on selecting a voting delegate to the 91st Annual Conference of the Florida League of Cities, August 17th through 19th, 2017 in Orlando, Florida. Just wanted to say I have also gone to League of Cities the last 2 years and have functioned as the voting delegate, but I wasn't sure if there's anyone else who's planning to attend, and if so, if someone else would like to be the voting delegate at 7:30 a.m. for the convention, you're certainly you may certainly nominate yourselves or someone else. And League of Cities, for those of you who are not familiar, is all the municipalities of Florida. The elected officials meet once a year to discuss a myriad of topics. It's a chance to be educated in many areas of municipal government. It's a chance to attend ethics and sunshine law classes. It's a chance to be on committees to lobby with state government, federal government, a chance to learn more about grants, more about public safety for our city. So it's just a wonderful organization. And in Lynn Haven, we do belong to Florida League of Cities, the National League of Cities, and I belong to the national and the state level of municipal mayors. And also the FAST committee, which attends twice a year to Washington, D.C. to lobby our government officials and to tell them what our city needs and to try and get money and help for our needs. So anyone else want to be the delegate? I really won't be offended. Okay. Is there a motion then that I would be your delegate to vote?
Mayor, I move that we appoint the mayor of Glen Haven as the voting delegate.
Second.
A motion and a second. Any discussion? Any questions or discussion from the public? Okay, Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell? Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Can I vote on myself?
Sure.
Yes. The motion stands approved. Thank you. I wasn't sure. At this time, we move to item number 11, and this is an item which was brought up at the last meeting by Commissioner Barnes, so I'll read the item and then I'll ask Commissioner Barnes to talk about his idea. Discussion and possible action regarding setting aside a shred event day for Lynn Haven. Commissioner Barnes, would you like to tell us about it?
This is an event that it actually occurs down at the Panama City Mall. Channel 13 sponsors this event, and I thought it would be a nice gesture if we can do this for our citizens so that they can get any items that they need to shred and get rid of. This is a service, hopefully in the future, that we will provide to our citizens. And so I'm bringing this before the commission. I think it's a good idea. Anytime we protect the identity of our people here in Lynn Haven, I think the city is doing a very good job at that. So,
Okay, thank you. Are there questions from the
City Manager,
commission?
I think Joel has some.
Go ahead.
Well, just some details, I guess. So the idea was to have this event probably in the latter part of August or at some point in August on a Saturday. There'd be a $3,000 limit. They charge by the hour. We anticipate it'd probably be half of that, but just don't know how many people will show up. So we're going to limit the number of boxes. We're going to treat it the same way we do the sandbag type event where they show residency, proof of residency, and maybe limit it to 3 to 5 boxes is what some of the vendors suggested, but also to have it at King Griffin Park, but again, at some point in August, and we can bring the details back, or, you know, should you approve it, we'll just post them to Facebook, the website, et cetera.
So I would recommend that we would have it the first weekend in August. So I move that we approve this.
Second.
There's been a motion and a second. Are there other questions on the board about this idea or comments? I think it's a great idea.
Maybe just one comment, Mayor. I'm getting the evil eye from our Leader Services Director who's suggesting maybe the latter part of August because of special events, if that's okay, just for staffing purposes.
Well, and I didn't want to mention it, but you are interfering with Possum Day in Wausau. I'm saying it's always first weekend in August.
Protect their identity as well.
Yes, I don't want to interfere with that. Just saying. So
They
do
have
you wanna
shredded
change-
possum meat.
Yes, it is a
Sorry.
wonderful event, but do you want to, are you going to amend your motion or no? For the
Yeah,
last,
I'll be more than happy to amend it
okay,
to,
the last week,
what day? I can't read sign language. What day, Maria?
I can't see her.
August 19th? Okay, I'm agreeable with that.
So would you like to amend the motion to reflect the date?
Yes, I'll amend my motion to reflect the date of August the 19th.
second.
Thank you. A motion and a second that we have a shredding day here in Lynn Haven at King Griffin Park, correct? And that would be, any further comment or discussion? Any comments from the public? There appear to be none. Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
Yes.
Commissioner Russell? Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes, so the motion stands approved. And then finally, item number 12, this is the discussion and possible action of the top candidate for the city manager position.
Mayor, I move that the city commission appoint Michael White as the new city manager of the city of Lynn Haven.
There's been a motion. Is there a second to the motion?
I'll second it.
Okay, there's been a motion and a second that Michael White would be appointed to the new position as city manager for the city of Lynn Haven. Are there any questions or discussion from the board?
Yes, ma'am, just for clarification, to clarify the motion as well, we're the motion is to offer, I guess, the job, not necessarily appointing the position, offering the job to Michael White, which would then give you the opportunity, along with the city attorney, to sit down with the applicant and negotiate the salary and the contract.
You're right. You're right. So I'll amend my motion to say that we offer the job to Michael White and to allow the city attorney and the mayor to negotiate a contract.
Would you want to consider what we talked about in the workshop, or any variation of that for expedition?
Well, I kind of like to talk about that part separately.
Okay.
If you don't mind.
All right, well, go ahead and, you want to restate the motion one more time then in a second?
Yes, my motion is to make an offer to Michael White, the position of city manager of the city of Lynn Haven.
Okay, and then, okay, there's been a motion and a second to offer the position of city manager to Michael White. Any further discussion from the board? Any comments or questions from the public? Yes, ma'am.
Libby Tennell, 505 Virginia Avenue, Lynn Haven. Y'all all know me. I'm the oldest Lynn Haven person. I was born here. And I can't believe y'all overlooked Brian Davis. He is so involved in the community, and he cares about Lynn Haven. I'm sorry I couldn't be at the workshop because I had so many doctor's appointments. But I think y'all need to think. How did a man give up a $240,000 job to take our job for $120,000? I think you need to think about that, because Brian is a good man, he's honest, and he cares about Lynn Haven, and he's at all the things that we have here, and he is a good man.
Thank you, Mrs. Tennell. And if you were not at the workshop, Mrs. Tennell, I would echo everything that you said about Mr. Davis. I do agree with you, and he was definitely in my top contention for that position, and I did state my reasons for making the choice that I made, but I certainly respect everything that you just said. Does anyone else have a comment that you'd like to make? Anyone else? Thank you very much. Mr. Schubert, then would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Barnes?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender?
No.
Commissioner Russell? Yes. Commissioner Friend?
Yes.
Mayor Anderson?
Yes. So the motion would stand approved that we would offer the position of city manager to Mr. Michael White. At this time, that leads me to the point now that the mayor and the city attorney would be authorized by the commission to either negotiate or make an offer of a salary and other terms to Mr. White, and we had discussed some of those possibilities in the workshop. Is there further discussion, or is there any other motions that anyone would like to make regarding this?
Mayor, I know in the workshop we had mentioned to offer the salary that is currently being made by Mr. Schubert. One of my concerns with that is the fact that, Mr. Schubert worked 3 years to get to the salary level to where he's at right now. My second thing would be the fact that, we had mentioned earlier about morale in our city.
I'm sorry, okay, I didn't hear.
Yeah, morale in our city. I don't think it would be good practice or best practice for us to hire at that level. And I'm sure Mr. White would like to negotiate, but I think, as you guys are negotiating that, come up with the salary, and then once he comes on board and he shows his performance, then we can move it up at the same time. But I am concerned about the morale that it will cause amongst the workforce here, and that it took Mr. Schubert 3 years to work up to that position. So that's my concern with that.
Okay. Again, we advertised the position that it would have a salary range of $100,000 to $140,000. So is there any other discussion? I just need direction, gentlemen, of where, and ladies.
I would like to say that I totally agree with Commissioner Barnes.
Okay, is there an amount that you all, I mean, what I'm saying, are we going to come up with an amount today that you would authorize me to offer, or are you, if you just tell me to negotiate and you tell me that you don't want to start here, you know, then we're going to be at another commission meeting talking about it.
And Mayor, let me just clarify, is the issue that because our city manager, because Mr. Schubert's leaving now, we want to get someone on board as quick as possible, and so you're asking for an actual amount to delegate and execute the contract so that person can start working? Is that the...
That was the intent, so that this person would, and because if the person is available, so that this person would have the opportunity to be with Mr. Schubert over the next, it will be 7 days, well, actually about 2 weeks now. No, 7 days, really a week, that he would have to be with Mr. Schubert to try and get things in line. And so what I was bringing up in the workshop, and if you disagree with the amount and want to come up with a different amount, I'm good with that. I'm just saying that if we could come up with an amount today that we could offer and that you approve, then if Mr. White accepts, then he would be the city manager and we could go ahead and start with him on board instead of having a gap. If that's not acceptable, then please direct me in another direction.
So right now, Mr. Schubert is making 116, correct? Is it 116?
And he has a $450 car allowance and I believe about approximately $30 for a phone. So he's somewhere at 122 and some change is where we are.
Okay. But then I would recommend that we will start negotiations at 110, and then as he performs, then we make adjustments accordingly.
So that would be an offer or a negotiation?
That's a negotiation. I mean, you know.
So just to be clear, because I enjoy negotiating and I do it somewhat for a living. So, but if we're tipping our hand a little bit. So if I were to give any advice, no disrespect to our applicant, but you start off as low as you possibly can and you come to an agreement, not to exceed, you know, an amount that we could say. So if I had to say anything, I would say, you know, start at the low end of the advertised salary and negotiate not to exceed the number maybe that you just mentioned. My only concern, it's not necessarily a concern, but one of the things that I wanted to point out is the contract itself, because that'll be part of the negotiations as well. The applicant may not like something in the contract. So if the contract is changed in any way, then I think that has to come back for the commission's approval, if I'm not mistaken. So.
Yes, sir. I mean, typically we have more time, and so the negotiation goes on, and then the contract comes back to commission, and then that person is appointed the city manager. If I can offer a suggestion,
Please.
To get someone in here quickly, perhaps if the commission could make the offer at the low end of the scale, whatever that was advertised, and if the candidate accepts, then he can begin working as a city manager right away. And meanwhile, the mayor and myself will negotiate the contract terms, because every person has a different, you know, a different importance. The things are important to them, and bring that back to the commission. And as part of that negotiation, if there's a bump in from that lower number, that would come back to the commission for approval. And you know, obviously, if we couldn't come to the negotiation, then the relationship would be over at that point.
And we'd start over.
Yeah. I don't know what y'all think about that, or...
I would certainly agree with that. I think it's very important that we can use this opportunity that unfortunately we didn't have with the last hire, but in order to get the new city manager in, and any time he can spend with our current city manager is very, very valuable situation, very valuable. I mean, I know that Mr. Schubert, one of his strong points is communication. He's always done a really, really good job communicating to us as a commission, but I think that would just be invaluable. So if we could come to some type of an agreement there, I would certainly support that.
And certainly as part of the negotiation, if the ultimate salary was agreed upon was higher, you could backdate that pay to the date that he first started working here.
Yeah.
And then everything would be like it would be normal, except he would be working at the time.
And so in your suggestion, I'm just asking a question, you are saying to offer the low end of what was offered, or would you offer the low end of where Mr. Schubert started? What would you, just
The low end of
food
what
for
the
thought.
job was offered, I think, is
Okay.
And not to exceed an amount. What was the amount?
Well, we've got a range, I mean, what is it?
It was 100 to 140.
142,000, so.
Okay, well, that's the range. The advertised
that's
price
the
went up to 140. So you
Okay,
you
then
could say to start the negotiations, not to exceed the 114,000 is what we could approve, and then start the negotiations on the contract, and the applicant could start immediately. Is that what the motion would say?
Well, I guess to clarify. Yeah, let me clarify. So the motion, since you all have made an offer to Mr. White to be city manager, and now, he has an offer, but he doesn't have it until he accepts the offer, then he's not city manager. My suggestion would be that because we need to get him in here quickly, at least that's what the commission feels like, they need to get him in here quickly and start working with Mr. Schubert, say, we'll make you an offer of temporary city manager at the bottom end of the range, which is $100,000, and you can start working right away. And in the meantime, so he has a job and he has an appointment. In the meantime, the mayor and I will negotiate with him to come up with a final contract, which will come back to the city commission.
Okay.
And at that point, if whatever those negotiations are will be approved and can be backdated back to the date that he first started working.
Does everyone on the board understand the clarification from the attorney?
Yes, ma'am. So move approval.
Commissioner Russell, did you understand everything? Okay. So would you like to amend your...
I would amend my motion to reflect the statement that the city manager just said.
Second, Attorney.
Okay,
City attorney, I'm sorry.
there's been a motion and a second we've already approved the offer to Mr. White to be the new city manager, and now, help me if I misstate, I will let the attorney state, to make sure it's word for word, what the offer is.
Sure, it would be
Thank
an
you.
offer to offer a temporary appointment to city manager at $100,000 a year for him to start working immediately. And then if he accepts that, to start negotiating for a final contract to bring back to the commission at our next meeting.
Okay.
And the final contract was not to exceed...
It would be whatever
we're good.
we'll
Okay,
work
not
with him on. Yeah.
Okay. All right, any further discussion? Okay, any comments from the public? Yes, sir. Could you speak up just a little bit?
Yeah. Bob Schultz, 509 Pennsylvania Avenue.
Got it.
What if he says no?
We'll be back to square one.
Can you ask him? He's right here.
That would not be in
do that.
proper, we haven't voted yet, sorry.
Bet he'd be happy.
Thank you, dear. Another one? Yes, ma'am.
Harrison, 904 Michigan Avenue. My question was pretty much along the same lines. Okay, we're not giving permission for the attorney and the mayor to negotiate the salary and the contract, but what if this gentleman starts off at the position at $100,000 and then you cannot reach conclusion on your contracts?
My understanding is we'd have to re-advertise and start from the beginning.
Well, if we can't, Mayor and I have been authorized to negotiate. If we can't come to a negotiated contract, we would come back to the commission and report that to the rest of the commission, and then the commission would do whatever it sees fit to do.
I guess my question is, okay, you negotiate, you make a contract, and then you bring it to the commission and they don't approve it. So then we're once again stuck with the city manager that has no city manager to talk to.
That would be unfortunate, but we'll just have to see
Okay.
what it brings about. It's just the process. Is there any other comment or question? Okay, at this time, Mr. Schubert, would you please call the roll?
Aye.
Commissioner Tender,
Yes.
Commissioner Russell,
Yes.
Yes, so the motion stands approved. And congratulations to Mr. White. You are with us this evening, and on the premise that you would accept. And then moving to item number 13, public commentary. If there's anyone here who would like to make a comment or ask questions about any topic. Yes, ma'am.
Janet Walker, 1106 Michigan Avenue. I would like to express my appreciation to Mr. Schubert for allowing me to make comments on the budget, him listening to me and coming back and changing them to my approval. So I will definitely be here watching the new city manager with the budget. I would also like to give my appreciation to Mr. Schubert for accepting my telephone calls, which sometimes were a couple times a week with my concerns. So I will be sad to see him go.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
Jerry Whitworth, 317 Alexander Drive. I've got two points. The first one is about 2 months ago, we had a problem between myself and my neighbor with a city-owned easement that was collapsing through a drain. And I've mentioned that to, I believe, Mr. Schubert. The next day they came out and fixed it. They dug it up, and my neighbor's yard had collapsed in about 2 feet. And they brought in enough fill dirt and fixed all that, and I wanted to thank y'all for doing that. And the second thing I've got is on Alexander Drive, the speed limit's 25. It's becoming a racetrack. I've almost been hit twice backing out of my driveway and once pulling into my driveway. Well, I don't consider myself elderly, but there's a lot of elderly folks that live on our street. Plus, there's a lot of new families moving in with small children. And one of the little girls, who's about this tall, almost got in front of a car the other day that was running about 40 miles an hour. And I've called Lynn Haven police on numerous occasions, and they come right on out. You could ask for better service. But the problem is the cars are gone by the time they get there. So I would like to request, if we possibly could, consideration of putting some speed bumps on that road. Because somebody's going to get killed. And I hate to think about a little child getting run over. But that's what I wanted to say, and I appreciate it, folks. Thank you very much for giving me the time.
I appreciate you being here, and I want to remind you that we do have a workshop at our next commission meeting, and I hope you'll come and bring your concerns to the workshop, and we are committed to working to try to get the speeding all over the city under control. Okay. So thank you.
Ma'am, I appreciate it. Thank you so much.
Mayor, I'm sorry if I may, what was the road again?
Alexander Drive.
Thank you, sir.
It's over behind the Publix and Bel Air Estates.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Anyone else today? Yes, ma'am.
Sonia Johnson, Colorado Avenue. I'm here solely for you. I am sick and tired of everybody praising Public Works and them not doing their job. My ditch has not been mowed, and the mower was sitting on the street, and every block got mowed except for the one on my corner.
I remember your phone call.
I know.
Yes, ma'am.
They still didn't do it. My son got out there this past weekend and done it. Now, after a vehicle went into that ditch on Friday night. That ditch is holding 2 foot of water currently at one point and over 3 foot in another part because the culvert is higher than the ditch. Every time they think the answer is to dig it deeper. It's not. I've been in this town since 2009, and I am sick of Public Works and everyone praising them. They're not doing their job. They're sending 5 and 6 people out to do the job of one person, and y'all are paying way too much to everybody in the city. Way too much. And especially when it comes to Public Works, they will not do their job. They will, unless you know them personally, you don't mean nothing in this town.
Okay, if I'm not interrupting, I am interrupting, but you still have a minute and a half. But I know, we've talked on the phone, and I know that you are very upset, and I know that it is I recognize that there is a problem there, and I will meet with the present city manager tomorrow, and possibly, maybe we can get with Public Works, and maybe we can come with some type of solution that we can at least do something temporary to help with that problem until our new paving projects are about to get underway with new culverts, new drainage, new engineering ideas to fix that problem. And I know that you've been dealing with it a long time. I've seen it personally, and you do have my empathy, and you have, I will just give you the promise that we will see it through. It will get fixed.
Has anyone checked on that 18-inch line that's been put into
I'm
that
sorry,
main?
I can't hear your question.
Has anyone checked on that 18-inch line that was put into that main line?
I cannot answer that question. I don't know. I have expressed the concern. I have sent the...
Well, you made a recommendation to the Public Works Department before that storm came in for them to see about the people they knew that flooded, and they didn't ignore you.
I think that we have a lot of issues to work out with how we're addressing drainage. I agree with you. And if you will give us time, and I will contact you personally tomorrow, and we will come up with a time we can meet and come out and look and come up with a solution. I'm sorry that no one's met with you yet.
Well, every time you call them, you get attitude. If you don't know somebody there, you get attitude. You ask any common person that works a 8 to 5 or 6 to 4 or whatever, a regular 40-hour week that cannot get to these meetings, their opinion of Public Works, and it's not what you're hearing in this room.
I understand your concerns, and I'm not cutting you short.
I know.
If you want to wait till after the meeting, and we'll talk a minute, and we can come up with a time when you can come in.
I mean, I've said what I've got to say.
Okay.
I mean, the problem ain't, I knew when I came that it's falling on deaf ears.
Well, it's not falling on deaf ears. It's raining right now, and you probably got a problem over there, and I understand that. And someone's going to see about it immediately. I promise you that.
Well, and not only that, there's minnows and tadpoles currently in that ditch, and what does that bring? Water moccasin. Okay, so we pulled the shotgun out to kill the water moccasin. Then me or my son goes to jail for killing a water moccasin because the city won't take care of it. Okay. I've said all I'm going to say.
Thank you. No, thank you for coming.
Give me a call when you can.
Thank you so much for coming, and I'll be right in touch with you tomorrow, I promise.
Thank you, ma'am.
Okay? Okay. Yes, sir.
Leon Miller, 1508 Mississippi Avenue. First, I want to say it's been good, Mr. Sheriff. I'm going to hate to see you go. You've done a good job here for the citizens of Lynn Haven, but I understand you moving on. And good luck, and may God be with you in your new position.
Thank you.
Now, the other thing is that, have you talked with the county or somebody about the 17th Street and 77 turn signals there? It's the line getting longer and longer. Sometimes the cars get catch 3 times before they can turn. Everybody trying to turn at one time. We need to delay signals on both sides.
We met, as the mayor reported, I believe, last commission meeting, and then followed up with some 390 information. We met with them last month, and we talked about both the intersection or potential right-hand turn into the post office, then also 17th Street, and we have not gotten a report back from them. But I mean, the simple answer is yes, we've talked to them. They're going to do a study.
And we're going to stay right on top of their study till we get it done.
All right, thank you. I'll have Mr. White alerted to. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, sir.
My name's Bob Ross at 1218 Georgia, and I just want to thank the mayor and the commission for considering a 4-way stop at 13th in Georgia. I'm telling you, it's me that I had given up, and I'm not going to deny that seeing the 4-way stop at 12th and Tennessee didn't get me my attention back, but I just thank you so much for considering it.
Everybody's mad at me. Thank Commissioner Friend for recommending that one stop sign.
I'm not mad at you.
Because I asked for 14. Anyone else?
Mayor?
Yes.
If I could just take this moment to thank the staff. I do think you guys do an excellent job. I want to thank you for all the successes the last 3+ years. I want to thank all the citizens It hasn't, I've always tried to give you an answer. It may not have been the right answer, but I try to exhaust every no, or exhaust every no, yes, before I got to a no. If I said that correctly, I didn't think about this before, but we did everything we could. I appreciate all the relationships, and I sincerely appreciate the support of this commissioner, of this commission, and I look forward to working with everybody continuously when I'm with the county. And congratulations to Mr. White as well. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Schubert. And is there anyone else that had anything else they wanted to say before we adjourn? Are we good? At this time, and I'm sure, like I said earlier, there'll be some event and festivities to properly say well wishes to Mr. Schubert. So thank you all for coming. It's pouring rain. You may want to stay and chat for a little bit. And hopefully nothing's flooding. The meeting is adjourned.